Is it sustainable to think in the way of having to convert and bring back? And if you look at the Lemba, they don't even want to convert. They said, why are we converting to something we're already part of? So it's really important now to bring in the writings of our sages, because we have a consensus for about 3,000 years passed on that everyone agrees on what will happen in the future times when this great awakening happens. What will happen in the future times when this great awakening happens? What will happen in the future times when this great awakening happens?
The point being, around the world, this prophecy started unfolding before our eyes. The awakening and the return of Israel. It's the awakening and the return of Israel. The awakening and the return of Israel. Because it says in the days of Messiah, so now we go through the prophets here, and we get to the book of Ezekiel in 36 and 37, the dead bones of Israel come back to life. And in 36 and 37, it says, in the days of the Messiah returns, both sticks, Judah and Ephraim, are joined in his hand. So then we get to the New Testament, and it talks about the Jews and the Gentiles, but those Gentiles were returning Israel. Read Peter's address. He says to the dispersed of Israel, or to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, and James says the same. So this story of the Bible, guys, there was no change of the law at the middle day. It was a continuation of the story of restoration.
On right now is what I call the Great Awakening. And what is a Great Awakening? It's realizing that we've been lied to quite a bit when it comes to a certain state and a certain group of people from the Middle East, even though they're not really from the Middle East, if you know what I'm saying. This situation is getting mainstream attention. A topic that typically would get you banned everywhere is now exploding, absolutely exploding in awareness.
Because, I mean, we was the only people that was looking for a family. We was the only people that was looking for to be a part of somebody's family, to be wanted. I don't care how you look at it. If you are Negro, you felt this loneliness before your awakening. And the people that we ran with was, pretty much us, our family, Negroes. That once we started to wake up, you was like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute. Wake up!
Waking up the people of the Most High. Got the knowledge to destroy the lies. DNA history, open eyes. Walk into the darkness and turn on the lights. Wake up, 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 wake up.
Warning: the following video are for commentary purposes only. Fair use.
Hey, y'all. So they finally said it out loud on camera with their whole chest. Alabama's House Speaker Nathaniel Ledbetter stood in front of the press after his state passed a redistricting bill and said, and I quote, "I certainly hope the Supreme Court will overturn Amendment 14, end quote. I need you to understand what he means. You see, the 14th Amendment is not a technicality. It's not a redistricting footnote. It's the amendment that made Black people citizens of this country after 250 years of enslavement, ratified in 1868, written in blood. It says you are a citizen. It says you have equal protections under the law. It says no state can strip your rights without due process. It is the legal spine of every civil rights victory we have ever won. And Ledbetter hopes the Supreme Court throws it in the trash. That's not a redistricting argument, ladies and gentlemen. That's a declaration. See, they're not hiding under their white hoods and robes anymore. They are not dog whistling. They are standing at a podium saying, we want the amendment that made you citizens gone. This is happening right now in real time, 2026. And the only thing they're afraid of, the only reason they want to erase that amendment is because they know what we do when we show up. So show up. And remind every Black and brown person that voted for this. Jim Crow had a hood. This version has a law degree and a press conference.
There is something so insidious happening right now to the Black community, and most white people literally have no idea it's even happening. The black community is under attack right now at a level we haven't seen probably since the Civil Rights era. You know, with the Supreme Court gutting the Voting Rights Act earlier today, you've got the purge of black federal workers, attacks on nonprofit funding with the whole DEI boogeyman. You've got attacks on the social safety net. Overt racism is on the rise across the board. And they're tired, y'all. They are exhausted by this onslaught. And it's self-proclaimed white Christians leading the charge against them on all of these fronts. So if you are a white Christian and you are not deceived by Trump, we need to rally together around our black brothers and sisters right now. We need to form a wall around them, and we need to say no more. No more, because this isn't right, and we cannot stand by and do nothing as they are getting absolutely pummeled like Reconstruction just ended or something.
But on the issue of race, on the treatment of African Americans specifically, even being terrible at what they're doing has still proven to be disastrous for our country. And it is in part the posturing and from the White House and the president. That is stuff that validates and excites the worst bigots in the country, and that is consequential. But it's more than that too. We are now about 16 months into what has been from day one a concerted and intense targeting of black Americans, specifically by this president and by this administration. On his first full day in office, he proclaims war on diversity efforts, not only in government, but in any institution in the country over which he can exert leverage, everything from schools and universities to law firms to private businesses of every stripe. He then immediately started firing some of the highest profile black public officials in the whole U.S. government, seemingly regardless of any other thing about them. I mean, right away, we get the firing of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Charles C.Q. Brown. We get the firing of the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden. And then it's Gwynne Wilcox from the National Labor Relations Board. And then it's Robert Primus, the chair of the Surface Transportation Board. And then it's Alvin Brown from the NTSB. And then it's Peggy Carr, the head of the National Center for Education Statistics. And then it's Willie Phillips from FERC, from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And then it's Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, and on and on and on. When Trump and his top political donor, Elon Musk, then started just lopping off huge swaths of the federal government to disastrous practical effect, the largest and most egregious cuts targeted federal agencies that employed a disproportionate number of black employees. Reporter Erica Green wrote about this a few months ago for The Times, noting that nothing had moved backwards in the federal government for black Americans this quickly or this far in over 100 years. Since Woodrow Wilson came in 1912 and resegregated the federal workforce. Quote, black employees were fired or demoted to lower level jobs, relegated to separate and inferior lunchrooms and other facilities, and accused of making white women feel unsafe. Those who remained were humiliated. A black worker in the postal service was surrounded by screens so white workers would not have to look at him. Another employee had a cage built around him to separate him from his white counterparts. A clerk in the Treasury Secretary's office was assigned to rewrite all correspondence to address black employees by their first names. The way Trump addressed the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden, by her first name when he crowed publicly about firing her for no reason. In the year of our Lord 2025 and now 2026, this president and this administration is not just inheriting that history from the Wilson administration, it's furthering it in its own ways. Since 1965, there has been an executive order in effect. It was signed by Lyndon Johnson, 1965. Since 1965, all federal contractors have been banned by executive order from discriminating on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin. Donald Trump rescinded that 1965 rule on his first full day in office. Less than a month later, Trump announced another rule change. They rescinded Clause 52.222-21 of the Federal Acquisition Regulation, which doesn't sound like much, but I'll tell you what the title of that is. It's prohibition of segregated facilities. That's what Trump rescinded less than 1 month into being back in the White House. That section reads, quote, the contractor agrees that it does not and will not maintain or provide for its employees any segregated facilities at any of its establishments, and that it does not and will not permit its employees to perform their services at any location under its control where segregated facilities are maintained. That anti-segregation clause has been in government contracts for decades. Donald Trump overtly reached out to rescind it, which means bluntly that the federal government no longer explicitly prohibits contractors from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains. Make America great again, right? Recently fired and sidelined employees in the Department of Housing and Urban Development have started sounding the alarm that the Trump administration is no longer, just bluntly no longer enforcing a federal law known as the Fair Housing Act. Fair Housing Act, another pillar of the civil rights movements and its achievements. Fair Housing Act dates to 1968. It says you can't refuse to rent to someone or refuse to sell a house to someone on account of their race or their color or religion or national origin or any other factor against which we're supposed to be protected from discrimination. According to current and former employees of the Department of Housing and Urban Development under Donald Trump, they have dropped enforcement of the Federal Housing Act. In Trump's first year back in office, black unemployment spiked in this country from 6.2% all the way up to 7.5%, making it the highest of all racial groups. Under Joe Biden, black unemployment had been at a record low of 4.8%, spiking now under Donald Trump. The Trump administration, generally speaking, is bad at its work. It is bad at what it sets its mind to in all sorts of ways. But black Americans, African Americans, have been targeted by this administration in a concerted way that has nevertheless been devastating, even though the Trump administration isn't good at anything they set their mind to. And that was all before the conservative majority on the U.S. Supreme Court, including all of Trump's appointees, voted to effectively end the Voting Rights Act a few days ago. As soon as the court said they would take up that case, people started mapping the worst case scenario for what Trump and the Republicans would do, particularly in the South, if the court gutted the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the crowning achievement of the civil rights movement. And the before and after looks like the snapback after the end of Reconstruction, after the Civil War. I mean, look at the state of Louisiana there. A third of the population of Louisiana is black. Louisiana's Republican governor canceled congressional elections that are already underway in that state to rush through new maps that will presumably make sure that even though 1/3 of the population of that state is black, there will be no black representation in Congress for Louisiana at all. South Carolina, 1/4 of the population is black. They have one majority-minority district represented by an African-American Democrat, Jim Clyburn. They are going to try to get rid of that one black district so that South Carolina is all white, all Republican in representation, while 1/4 of the people who live in that state are black. In Tennessee, 1 in 6 residents is black. Republicans now want to make sure all 9 congressional seats in Tennessee are white. All 9 of them. They want it to be 9-0, white and Republican. And 1 in 6 people in that state is black. In her dissent from the majority ruling, Justice Elena Kagan said it will likely cause the largest reduction to minority representation since the end of Reconstruction. She probably didn't need to use the word likely there. The war on black Americans that is being waged by this president and this Republican Party is one of the only things they have put their mind to in this past year that they've actually done pretty well at. A comprehensive attack on black public officials and black public power. A comprehensive attack on black public officials in the federal government, black employees in the federal government, black representatives in Congress, and now all around the country, where everywhere Republicans are in charge, they are scrambling to make sure that black public officials can no longer hold office. We're going to talk tonight about the pushback against that and the strategies to make them pay for it, both in Louisiana, which is ground zero here, and around the country. We're going to talk tonight about some surprising push.
Wake up! Wake up, wake up, wake up! Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake!
Wake up. Welcome to Berean Scholar Channel. I want to thank each and every one who's already on the channel. Some quick shout outs. Fellas, I am honored. I give all praises to the Most High for you guys being a part of what we're doing. This side, I had opportunity to see some of the things that's happening with our people around the country, and it belittled me. I was humbled, and I give all glory to Him, but also it gave me a awareness of where we at as a people, and some of the things that happen in news cycle, some of the things we're going through. We know we've been going through certain religious groups that are trying to call us out. We're under attack, but as a friend of mine once said, there's something special about you, Judah. There's something special about you. I want to thank each and every one of you for being a part here. Let's see, we got, thank you, Brother Ivan, for being here, being faithful. Also, Sister Daily Repentance, Hearts of Kindness. Thank you always for being there and man in the chat. Let's see what we got. Brother woke Yace up. How you doing, brother? We need to hook up again. I ain't heard from you in a while. Hopefully it's going good. I heard from brother Israelite Gamers said you guys hooked up, so I'm glad to hear that. Sister Jerry, thank you for being a part tonight. This is going to be a good, a different Great Awakening, because usually I get a chance to interview individuals, and I might have some people on, but today we're going to interview one of our ancestors. Thank you, Sister Sharp. In fact, I got a guest in the back office. I'm just going to bring her on. Sister Carol, are you there?
Hey, my brother. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Glad to hear from you.
Same here.
I put out the invitation to our brother. I thought I saw him in the chat, so I guess he'll come on if you feel like it. If we don't, we know.
Oh, yes, I see him there.
Yeah.
Does he have the link?
He has the link. I emailed it to him and I gave it to him.
All right. We woke now. Come up here.
Oh, I like the way you said it again.
We woke now. Come on up here. Get up here right now.
Why I feel like my mom just called me to come in. Get on that porch, boy.
Get in this house.
Yeah. And that's great. And we just said some shout outs to some of our people in the chat before we get started. If I missed anybody, brother Pine Hill Production, thank you for being here, brother. Yasharel Forever, thank you for being here. And Regenerative Ministry, a talented brother who's doing great works. We're doing some stuff together. I need to get with you, brother. I think we finished. We're gonna have another video that'll be coming out pretty soon. He's helping me with a production, so we'll introduce that to you. In fact, I think he had a clip for me, so I'll let y'all see that.
Let me send him this link.
But let's can we get on with it today?
Hold on.
Did you hear something from him?
No, I'm sending him the link. He doesn't have it, so I'm gonna send the one you sent me.
Okay, I think I texted to him like I texted you, and I texted to him, and I emailed
And we
him.
woke now. Check your cell phone. Just texted to you.
Okay, I guess.
Let me email it to him too. Hold on.
That might be on me. Tell him to forgive me if I did. Did it wrong. He knows he's always welcome.
Okay, I just emailed it to you.
All right, let's see. Can we get started?
All right.
Can you see the screen, sis?
Yes, I can see it.
All right. Who we gonna interview today is Brother Nehemiah. Nehemiah, a prophetic model of the Yasharel's awakening. And I just did a Bible study with some part of the family, and we had a good time a couple weeks going through the book, and it really walks through what we're going through right now. Nehemiah and what's happening with what happened to him and what happened with Judah at that time is it barely lays a blueprint of what we're doing right now. And we're gonna try to read some of it. I'm not gonna read all of it. I'm gonna ask each and every one of you guys to go back and read this chapter. It's only 13 chapters. Go back and read this chapter and ask the Most High to show you what's happening to us, because our forefathers laid down a blueprint for us. We can learn from their mistakes. I think. Are you the only child, Sister Carol?
No, I have a younger brother.
So you're the younger one. Were you the oldest?
I'm the oldest. We're 11 years apart.
See, I'm the youngest boy, and I had 3 older siblings, and I tried to learn from watching my older sibling getting beat.
Mm-hmm.
What I saw them do, I didn't want to repeat.
Well, I did all the beating. In fact, I was a paid beater back in the day in the 70s when I was a kid. I would come home from school and kids would come to my mother's house and ask when I come outside. They would pay me $1 to beat up people.
Oh, I'm talking discipline from doing something wrong.
Oh, well, that was it. I was correcting him.
And see, I saw my older brother do things, and when Mom did, I said,
Don't do that, right?
I'm not going there.
Right.
Right. In fact, I remember one time she got so mad she couldn't find what she used to use. She picked up the broom and went in it.
Oh, wow.
But see, when you're reading the scriptures, our ancestors, they didn't learn.
Oh,
again and again and again, they kept going back into their mistakes.
Absolutely. And we're still doing it.
Thank you. That's what we're talking. We're still doing it. In fact, some of the things we talked about last night, me and Pastor had a conversation offline about some people in this awakening. We're still deep in the same thing that they did. And we're reading it and we're not seeing it because we're seeing it through the diluted lenses. We're still seeing it through Western theology.
Correct.
We're following things that are not of the Most High.
Absolutely.
And for those you have done the study, please, don't if I don't see anybody online, if you're on that study with me, please don't give any clues away that I say things out before the time. So I'm gonna keep it secret, okay? So let's get on with it. It's a rebuilding the wall, rebuilding of the people of Yahshua. And that time they were rebuilding Jerusalem, also rebuilding Yah's people. We need it because you see, we're under attack from outside, but we're also under attack from within. I was going to bring up a picture of you heard what happened down in Florida this week, right? They unveiled that new statue.
Yes, I sent you the text about that.
Yes. Okay. So I got several people send me texts, and you were one of them.
I was one of them. Yeah.
But yeah. But I saw that, I just nodded my head because the person who was doing the speak, I know him.
Oh, wow.
Yep, I'm not proud of it, but I know him. Yeah,
that demonstration is what you call a blueprint of Stockholm syndrome.
Let me see, can I share that? I think I got the picture of it because I want the people. We just need to see that just to get your image on what we're talking about.
Golden calf.
Did it come up on the screen yet?
Yes.
Guys, I hope y'all can see this. This is a statue that they erected down in Florida at a golf course where Trump owns. And the person who was doing the main speaker right here, trying to through his name over here because I forgot his name. But he's from South Carolina. I met him a couple of times and I had lunch with him. But we're gonna see this type of personality mentioned in Nehemiah. So I put it that way. So, but if you don't know, they got that, like you said, that golden calf. They're going right back at it. You still there, sis?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, I thought when I clicked, I lost it. You know how they do, because you got to check.
Yes. Now I was checking on We Woke Now, Pastor
Okay.
Kelly.
Well, let's get at it. Nehemiah. We start with about the first chapter. Now we're gonna do the chapters. Each chapter has 37 things that we're gonna be taking place. We're gonna try to walk through them one by one, and certain clues. This is what I like about the word. There's certain clues that they left that the Most High left for us that we can find ourselves.
Yes.
The historical content is Babylonian captivity. We know that our people was hard-headed. We broke the covenant. We sought out the other gods, and we got taken in captivity. Our neighbors from around us, most of them who were kin to us, most of those neighbors who were kin to us, overtook us and took us in captivity. Jerusalem was torn down. The walls were torn down. The temple was torn down. It was scattered. People were taken into slavery, and some people were still around. Persian ruler Artaxerxes. I'm pronouncing that.
Alaxaries?
In fact, I was saying it before him, and I'm gonna get it ready to say it on me. I said a line, but it'll come back.
Or Alaxarexes?
He was the second ruler after Cyrus.
Mm-hmm.
Artaxerxes.
Okay.
Anyway, he the ruler that was there during the time when Nehemiah was there.
Mm-hmm.
The covenant was broken. Israel was scattered, and identity was lost. Sound familiar?
Yes.
Language was lost. Remember, there was a long period of time while they was in dismay and in squalor. Language was lost. But then captivity, the captive was awakened by certain people who took a stand, and then they started remembering themselves again. Here's something I saw, and I love this. When people lose their way, they lose their covenant. When they lose their covenant, they lose protection.
Mm-hmm.
The Most High is not looking over us anymore. He allow things to happen to us. He allow us to be chastised. He chastised those who he loved. When people lose their protection, they lose their identity. When we were taken into slavery and brought on a ship, the first thing they did is separate us, took us from our families, make sure we didn't know who we were, where we came from, that we didn't know the language, and we didn't know our heritage. We didn't know anything. We lost our identity. When they lose their identity, they lose their language. We're in a place where we did not speak the language. And they taught us another language. You go ahead, so you had something to say?
I was going to say something too regarding this as this pattern is continuing, because what it is a blueprint of a pattern that's been set. Every time that we went in captivity was always a remnant of us. So that means some of us died off, and now this new generation that's available now, that remnant is now going to be put into captivity. So every time a generation is born, every time one dies off, it goes into captivity, and these same things happen all over again.
You're right. And there's a remnant. In fact, in the captivity, everybody didn't go. Everybody wasn't taken. And most time in this one, in the first one, they took the elect and they put them in certain places in the palace.
Mm-hmm.
So they sold off to slaves for people who are important, in their kingdom, and they left back people the undesirables, as they called. But if they lost their protection, they lost their language, they lost their connection. When they lose their connection, they lose their connection to their own Elohim. They lose their protection to the Most High, and that's what we are. We spent couple centuries, 4 centuries, not connected to the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
Now remember, the first dispersion was the northern kingdom. Those 10 tribes was taken away, and you can find that in 2 Kings chapter 17. That happened in 722 BCE. This one we're talking about today, the second dispersion, happened in 586 BCE. Now, how long between the two? We didn't learn a lesson. I mean, we just had a major invasion, enslavement, seen a whole most of our people taken away, and then the southern kingdom got taken away. It was only 136 years later that when this happened. So I'll pick up the story at the chapter 1. Nehemiah is working in the palace, and you know who he is. Nehemiah was a cupbearer. Was it significant? I mean, he was a high trusted person to be there right next to the king. He trusted him. He wanted him in his presence. The king didn't want anybody in his presence that he didn't think was worthy. And to be a cupbearer, that means he had to taste the king's wine before he tasted to make sure the king don't get poisoned. So he trusted him. He heard about the wall and the condition of his people and his city, and he started weeping and fasting and praying. That's what happened to me this Passat. When I saw what was happening, I was excited first. I had so many people come in fellowship, and I was excited about how many people who are hearing what we're doing and all that stuff. Then I started thinking about all the other things that we're seeing was happening, and it was like it was a heavy burden. Like, man, we gotta get busy.
Right.
We gotta get busy.
Right. You can see it and you can feel it.
Time is getting short. We're in the ninth hour.
Absolutely.
Now he went it personally and he confessed the sin of the nation. Now, I get ahead of myself. Let's do a little reading here. Let's go to Nehemiah first. Hear from Nehemiah himself. Let me know when the scriptures come up.
Okay.
I don't have my multi screens like I used to. I buy another adapter.
Gotcha. It's not up yet.
Okay.
Here we
Can
go.
you see it?
It's there now.
Can you see it?
Yes.
If anybody in the chat don't have any problem, make sure you let me know. And we're gonna whoop. All right,
there you go.
There we go.
Nehemiah, chapter 1.
Can hear it.
You can hear it?
No. The volume too low.
Words of Nehemiah.
Did you share your volume?
Nehemiah.
You can't hear it?
No, can hear it.
Let me try it again. I think I heard somebody come in the back office. Shalom, brother.
Peace and blessings. Hey, let me change my camera around. Shalom, let me change my camera around. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
All right, let me change my camera angle.
When you give me a chance, I'm setting up them. I was going to do some scripture, but I couldn't get it the sound to play for some reason, but we're going to fix that out. You doing good, brother? All right, it says the sound is on. All right, let's try it again. Let's start with chapter 1. If you hear it in the chat, make sure you drop a 1 in and let me know if you hear it or not.
The son of Hakaliah. And it came to pass in the month Chislev, in the 20th.
Can you hear it in the chat? I'm going to see the chat hear it because I maybe. On 1 if you
I can hear it on my end.
You can?
You may want to just go ahead and read it because sometimes trying to get it set on your end, it may take more time than it's worth. But I can hear it on my end.
I think everybody else said they can hear it too.
I can hear it. It's very low, but I can't hear it.
Yeah. So you may just want to just to say for the sake of time, just go ahead and just read it.
Okay. Well, let's go to what we'll do. I will summarize anyway, but I want to read it, the first part of it where Nehemiah went for son. Let me go ahead and bring up my slide then. Because it's going to be a lot of reading, so I'm not going to read all of it. So, but let's see. Go back to the slide. When you
Well, while
read,
you're
you're
doing
reading
that,
go ahead.
I'll just say to the people about Nehemiah because this is one of my favorite books, and I use this like you're using it right now to draw the parallel between where we are today and to where our ancestors were. I mean, because they were dealing with a lot of things that's parallel, and what many people don't realize about the time of Nehemiah, a number of things was restored. And
Yeah.
I heard you point out the Assyrian captivity. And one of the things that many don't acknowledge is that even though the Northern Kingdom, many of them did not return, didn't mean they got absorbed by the Northern Kingdom, I mean, by the Assyrians, but there was always a remnant of every tribe in Jerusalem.
Yes.
There was all, and Nehemiah acknowledges that, I believe, in Nehemiah chapter 9, either chapter 9 or chapter 10. I believe it talks about the lot that was taken, that was drawn for all the a tenth of each of the nations would live and dwell in Jerusalem. And so you'll also see again a remnant there. So there's so much to unpack here. And Sister Carol, you probably remember, not sure if you remember or not, but when I was dealing with a lot of those Christian groups, I would pull Nehemiah out.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I got one of them, I saw one that I saw, I laughed because remember, I put some of their heads and their faces on
Right.
the
I
adversary,
remember that.
showing the image of how the language calls out all of this. You know, and so I'm just saying all of this to say to you guys is that, you know, as Berean Scholar pointed out, let's go back into the scriptures. There's so much you can see, started with the book of Nehemiah, on how to navigate through what we see. So again, with the book of Nehemiah, you'll see that it confirms restoration, right? The restoring of the bloodline of Christ, as far as King David's bloodline, Jehoiakim, who was tarnished as a king. Zerubbabel became the a leader, and he was the signet ring of the Most High. So during Nehemiah, Ezra, Nehemiah, time, as well as Esther, you'll see also what Amos, you'll see that these prophets lived during that time, and you'll see the writings of how the Most High restored Israel to a certain point, but Israel was still hard headed. You know, it's so much that Nehemiah had to deal with what we're dealing with today.
And
Our
we're gonna
language.
walk through that chapter by chapter, what happened, and also point it to what we seeing today in this awakening.
Yeah. So it's so much to unpack, family. So I would just say, as Berean Scholar pointed out, read the book of Nehemiah, because quite honestly, it can take hours just to go through chapter 1.
And we're not going to get in detail in chapter 1. I want those who are on this live, please get into your word, bring it out while we're talking, check and see what I'm saying is true. But
Yeah.
one of the things I did not see, Pastor, and you might be, I don't know about you, but I've done a couple of sermons. In fact, my very first sermon was in Nehemiah.
Yep.
My first house sermon was Nehemiah, and things that I see now that I didn't see then. In fact, folks, didn't you know that Nehemiah had what some people in this group on this panel right now call a breadcrumb that will show us who we are? Nehemiah gives us a breadcrumb, in fact, because we know he's in captivity in this Babylonia, but it says in chapter 1, verse, let me see, I got it on the slide. Verse 1, the word of Nehemiah, you see who's talking, look at where he's at. As I was in Susan, the palace. Anybody know what Susan the palace? Heard anything about Susan the palace? Today is not spelled as it said SHUSHAN. It's spelled SUSA.
Yeah.
If you look that up today online and try to put in Susan the palace, the immortal warriors or the archers relief, you'll see a picture on the wall that was put there in that was showing the warriors of this great nation. In fact, this picture right here will come up if you look it up. This picture is the picture that this relief is in Susa, that where you see it today, a famous special memorial fresco of the archers. And the Elamites were known to be great archers. Anyway, Elamites are descendants of Elam. That's significant too. The brick, this glazed brick was around 510 BC, and it's found in Darius the Great. That's one of the rulers that came before Arsaxerxes. I'm still messing his name up. King that ruled while doing Nehemiah. But guys, take a look at that archer. Tell me what he looked like. Can you see him clearly? Do I need to blow it up?
He looks like olive skin.
Olive, okay. You like olive skin, that ripe olive, right?
I'm just joking.
I know you. I know you are. But these Elamite warriors is on the wall that was done 510 BC during the time of our dispersion, and this is what they look like. That's a close-up. Now, why is this important? I mean, look at his legs. Elam, because the Elamite from Elam is a brother to a son of Shem, a brother of Arphaxad, and that's our descendants. It goes down to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the Israelites. So is Elam the brother of Arphaxad, son of Shem, had dark-skinned kids? We talked about that before. DNA they came from the same DNA chains. If they have the same phenotypes, they're gonna look the same. So I didn't see that the first time. Many times I read this chapter. So I just want to bring that out. In fact, these wait a minute. One more thing about these warriors. You heard about the immortals, right? I know you have, Pastor.
Yeah.
Some of you guys in the chat, if you heard the movie 300, drop a 1 in chat. They were mentioned in the movie 300. I think I got a clip on it.
Make sure. I would say just cover yourself. Just mute out the.
Yeah, I already did that.
Yeah, because you know how it goes, man. They on us. Just want to protect you.
All the stuff is, and I also put the credits right there. So.
Well, the credits doesn't matter, but it's just to make sure that you know what I mean. I just want to make sure that they don't flag you.
So fair use.
The dark will of Persian kings for 500 years. Eyes as dark as night. Teeth filed to fangs. Soulless. The personal guard to King Xerxes himself. The Persian warrior elite. The deadliest fighting force in all of Asia. The Immortals.
Now look at the faces. In the movie, they had them with silver match and black masks on, but they were black soldiers. You saw the relief on the wall. This side, they didn't want to tell us that, hey, these guys were black. Any comments?
No, you doing a great job with presenting it, and as you pointed out, there's breadcrumbs all around us, and so and as you see, family, this is Nehemiah is dealing with the Medo-Persians captivity. So transitioning from the Babylonian captivity to the Medo-Persians, and so when you see the Elamites, as Berean scholar highlighted, this is all part of Shem. And unfortunately, the way that things have been presented to us, you'll see the sons of Noah being presented in three shades: Japheth being white, Shem being mixed, and Ham being Afro Thunder. I like to use Afro Thunder for the description, but now you hear them using terms like Canaanites for Caucasians or for the current 1948ers. So this is important because this is on an ancient relief. Even though they're making every sort of effort to try to whitewash this, so to speak. But we have the proof before us, as Berean scholar just laid out and given an analogy, even in the 300 men, the reference to them.
And Pastor, I for so many, because see, that's another point too. When we read the word, and some of the people are coming into the awakening, and some of the people, unfortunately, have been in awakening a long time, because I was trained a certain way. When I read it, I did not touch that. In fact, I've done studies on ancient Persia and all that stuff. I've seen history books, but they didn't connect.
Yeah,
they didn't
yeah.
connect.
Well,
I read the story.
And that's the key. It's like, even as I go through over and over again, there's always things that you just didn't catch initially that you more and more as you start. I guess like in the military, they use the term battle rhythm, right? The more you establish a battle rhythm in terms of a pattern of reading the text free from the way that we were conditioned to read it, more and more layers that of delusion and deception, poor theology that was given to us, right? We were pre-programmed with. Now you start seeing how it unpacked.
Right.
And speaking of that, if you don't mind me, just real quick, right? What I was doing earlier, right? Because I'm gonna do a follow-up teaching on what we did last night. To your point, right? Dr. Price used Lucian to suggest that he was a white guy. When actually, when you study Serene, the place where he's from is Libya, is North Africa. So I was putting the maps together because that was the other thing that didn't stand out that we didn't really touch on. But I'm just using that as an example that these are things that when we read the scriptures early on, while we were still in those layers of delusion, you wouldn't even see these things.
Correct.
And I love that you said that, layers of delusion. You're right, layers of delusion.
So each time you go through it, like I'm sure each time you go back over Nehemiah, something else is revealed. And not just Nehemiah, but other texts.
Exactly. The whole text. But Nehemiah, like you said, has a bunch that's is shouting aloud to this awakening and what we're going through, because we need to keep our sword in one hand and work on it with the other hand, because a lot of people are laying back like everything's okay. Now, here was my backup. I want to make sure I got the prayer out of the way, because here's the main thing on Nehemiah. He's a cupbearer. He's in the king's court. He has to come before the kings. And guys, if you came before the king in that day, you can't come before the king anyway. You got to present yourself the right way. So Nehemiah know if he came before the king upset, dismayed, the king might think something's wrong. Is he's trying to plot against me? He could lose your neck. He could lose your head like that. So this is what he's in. But he just got news from his brother how his home city, his people are doing, and it crushed him. I'm gonna try to play this for the prayer.
Let thine ear now be attentive, and thine eyes open, that thou mayest hear the prayer of thy servant, which I pray before thee now.
Is that better?
Affliction and
I can't hear any
reproach.
of it.
The wall of Jerusalem.
You still can't hear it?
I can hear it, but it's. I think it's better. It'd probably be better that you just read it. Quite honestly.
Okay. I can bring that up. I can see that better.
No, I can read it for you if you want me to.
All right.
Which bullet are we at? Was highlighted in the red?
I'm gonna bring it up bigger than that, because if I will say we're gonna read it, but I'm a little bit. Here we go. We're going to start at verse 10 when you see it on the screen.
It's on the screen.
No, I'm not there. I'm going to bring it up again on
Okay.
the written version of it.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's on the screen.
I start at verse 5. You going to read, Pastor?
Yeah, I'll read it for you. It said, I beseech thee, O Allahayim, O Yahawah Allahayim of heaven, the great and terrible Allahayim that keepeth covenant and mercy for them that love and observe his commandments. Verse 6, let thine ear now be attentive and thine eyes open, that thou mayest hear the prayer of thy servant, which I pray before thee now, day and night, for the children of Yashara'al, thy servants, and confess the sins of the children of Yashara'al, which we have sinned against thee. Both I and my father's house have sinned. We have dwelt very corruptly against thee, and have not kept the commandments, nor the statutes, nor the judgments which thou commandest thy servant Moses, or Mashah. Remember, I beseech thee, the word that thou commandest thy servant Moses, saying, or Mashah, saying, if ye transgress, I will scatter you abroad among the nations. But if ye turn unto me and keep my commandments and do them, though there were of you cast out unto the uttermost part of the heaven, yet will I gather them from thence and will bring them unto the place that I have chosen to set my name there.
Wow.
This is now those servants, thou people whom thou hast redeemed, thy great power by the strong hand. O Yahawah, I beseech thee, let now thy ears be attentive to the prayer of your servant and the prayer of thy servants whose desire fear thy name and prosper. I pray thee that thy servant this day grant him mercy. Why is he asking for mercy? Because he's going before the king. He asked for mercy in the sight of this man. That's this man. Nehemiah went through a whole weeks of prayer and supplication before the Most High. And in fact, when I read it, 2 Chronicles 5:14 means my people called by my name, humble themselves and pray. Everything that he asked for forgiveness for his nation, his ancestors. He realized the wrongs, the sins they did, how they got away from the covenant, and he made a proclamation himself that we are wicked, we're sinning. Forgive us and hear our prayers.
It's a couple of things I want to also add to this too, to what you pointed out, your commentary, is that Nehemiah was being proactive, right? If you go all the way back to the beginning of the verse, if you scroll up here, or the chapter rather, right? The key here is, it says here, and that Hanani, one of my brethren, came, he and certain men of Yahadah, and I asked them concerning the Yahadan that had escaped. So notice what happened here. He asked a question. He's inquiring, even though he's in a situation that he's serving the king and family. He's the cupbearer. He's the one that tests or sample all the food before the king even eats it. If it's poison, guess who's going to get caught first?
He will die. He will.
So that means that Nehemiah had a special relationship too with the king, right? And also, he couldn't just enter his courts. So there's a lot of moving parts here, but the key is going back to what you pointed out when you saw, as you pointed out about the Passover, it drove you to what? Fasting and praying because of what you saw going on among our people.
Yeah.
And the things that we're dealing with. So here he asked a question because there's a disconnect not because he's in a bad place, but because of the position that he's in. He's not boots on the ground. You know what I mean? So he asked a question, and when they had told him about what transpired, he went in, as you see here. Once he got his answer, right? When it says here, the remnant that are left of the captivity, they're in province, are in great affliction, not just affliction, but great affliction. And as you scroll down to verse 6, family, actually verse 4, you see how he went into what? Fasting.
Fasting.
He went into prayer.
Immediately. He was
You see
convicted. Yeah.
You see where I'm going at, family? See, this is the thing that we have to understand, that how this right here, when you read Jeremiah, you'll see what transpired, how Jerusalem ended up in this state, because instead of Israel fleeing, like the Most High told them to return back to Jerusalem, the Israelites decided to go to Egypt and take Nehemiah with them. Not Nehemiah, but Jeremiah with them. So as the result of their sins, the Most High allowed the Babylonians to completely decimate the entire area, the entire territory, entire Jews, decimate the temple, compromise the wall, tear it all down, the whole nine. So to Berean Scholar's point, as he laid out here, this is the foundation. This lays the foundation moving forward in the entire book. And this is the things that we can relate to. How many communities that we had burned down to the ground like this?
That just came to my mind.
They always keep trying to tell us that, well, we need to learn how to pick ourselves up by the bootstraps. Well, every time we picked ourselves up by the bootstraps, they dropped them from us. They took the boots from us.
Correct.
Now they're telling us to pick ourselves up by our own bootstraps, but we don't even have straps. We don't even have boots. We don't even have any of the necessities to do so.
Right.
And we're talking about dozens of communities.
Correct.
So this is the same thing right here. The Most High, because of Israel's choices, the Most High allowed this judgment to come. Now Nehemiah is now going to, went into prayer and fasting. Now he's going to the king, because now it's time to what? Try to at least start building up and bringing the pieces back together.
And to add what you said, Pastor, add what you said. No, I'm gonna keep on what you're saying. I'm gonna land back off that. In these first 4 verses, just to put it in a point of view that most people who's on here tonight or who will be listening later can understand. Nehemiah is in a nice place in slavery. He's a cupbearer. He's in the palace. He eats the king's food too. He's not eating slops like everybody. He's nice. He's in a nice position.
In other words, he's a house Negro.
Thank you. You got where I was going. And so you can bring that back with some people here now, even then and now, when we're comfortable, when the bills are paid, everything, we're okay. We don't care about what's going on with our brother and sister. Now, Nahi, verse 2, is his brother. He gonna come back, his name will come back again later on in this chapter. He's gonna put him in charge of one of the provinces in Jew. But anyway, he's his brother. He's telling what's happened back home. He could say, well, I'm doing okay there. Sucks to be them. That's how we do. But no, he goes in prayer and fasting for his people. All right, we'll go back and keep on. I'm glad you brought that up, Pastor. But and that's the first, when you look at chapter 1, he immediately goes to prayer and fast. And what happened? Yah hears his prayer. Yah hears his prayer.
And one last thing, my brother and family, you heard us talk about this a lot, right? Learning how to make the best of situations, like Jeremiah chapter 29, when it tells, even though Israel was in the midst of their Babylonian captivity, the Babylonians invaded several times. They were told to what? Still establish themselves, even in the midst of captivity. Seek the peace of that territory, of that land. And we see that Nehemiah, he did that because he had such a relationship with the king. Think about it. Had he not had a relationship like he had with the king, would he be able to even present his concerns to him? and the king give him the authorization to move forward.
And that's what because he had a relationship with the king, he's already, like you said, this is how many people went into captivity with this kingdom at the time. 1,000. But this one man, his position got him in front of a person that can help all of us. Who is going to be that person? We don't know who's going to be that person. Maybe today we think, well, it's just one of me. I can't do anything. One person who can fall to their knees and cry out to the Most High can change a lot.
And to your point, Berean Scholar, we're getting older too. Who's going to be the next group of the generations that's going to take the baton and run with it? We got our battle scars. And remember, Sister Carol, when I said the last thing that I dealt with going against those other communities,
Yes.
I said, this is the last one. I said, I didn't use my 5 stones. Who's going to take up the bag and do the same?
All 5 of them?
All 5 of them.
Man. I mean, I was using them.
He was a slaying something. To the point I had to stop him.
Well, I mean, and truth be told, it can take you away or take me away from the ministry that I'm responsible for.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because I am responsible for a local ministry.
That's right.
And I was dealing with some of the things that I had to deal with, Sister Carol will tell you, with stuff that our people were provoking.
Yes.
And that's one of the things I saw when I was doing. It hit me doing the Prasad, because it brought back some old stuff I used, being a part of a ministry and seeing the things that happen. I said, wow, it's just so much stuff that need to be done.
Yeah. Let's just show you how strong that spirit is. That there's a spirit among us that we have to fight against. There's those principalities that's holding us, and you have to fight against that to get through what needs to be getting through. But yeah, I had to go and say, look, stop it. Get back to your ministry. Leave it alone. Because you can get caught up in it.
But, and he almost made me want to go back to his prayer, because in his prayer, he's talked about us walking from his commandments, his laws, and statutes. And that's some of the things we had to fight about now. People want to teach different ways and stick to old patterns, stick to old traditions, or tradition of man, and stick to old theologies that versus reading the word and doing what they was put in front of us, what our forefathers did.
Exactly.
Nehemiah is the blueprint. We could use them as a blueprint. So, chapter 2, Nehemiah has prayed, he fasted, and he's still carrying on. He goes, it says, and it came to pass in the month of Nisan, in the 20th year of our fasts, the king, that the wine was before him. I took up the wine and gave it unto the king. Now I had not been before this time sad in his presence. Wherever the king said unto me, why are your countenance sad? See, thou art not sick. This is nothing but sorrow of heart. Right there was that the Most High heard him. He didn't say, why are you kind of sad? Get out of here. You're trying to underthrow me. Take him out, put him in jail. I'll take him out and get rid of him. Or even worse. He saw it and felt and had compassion on him and wanted to know what's going on, because he knew how faithful this man has been to him. He had built a reputation. That's what we need to do. Build a reputation that he know when he came in, he got his work done. He got his work done in an amount of excellence. You say, why you count this sad? You're not sick. It must be a sorrow of heart. The king had mercy on him. But even then, it says, he said unto the king, saying, O king, live forever. Why shall I not be my countenance be sad? When my city, the place of my father's sepulchre, lies waste, and the gates therefore are consumed by fire. And the king said to me, well, what do thou make requests? Wow. He gave him a blank check. Well, what do you want? he said before he answered, so I prayed to Elohim of heaven. Nehemiah got an opportunity to ask what he wanted because he knew what was on his heart. He wanted to rebuild his city. And go ahead, Pastor.
Can I say this real quick? And family, and I'm not trying to preach here or nothing like that, but this gives the importance of understanding your reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Nehemiah had such a reputation with the king, and the king saw that something wasn't right and was troubling him and gave him the okay. As you see, verse 7, if it please the king, let letters be given to me to the governors beyond the river, that they may convey me over till I come into Yada. Right? So, and you see that the king granted him that. The king has such a rapport with them. And this is why it's so important, family, whether you work in a 9-to-5, whether you have your own business, your reputation is everything.
Everything.
Your reputation is everything. I could share, endless amount of testimonies of just having a reputation with the places and spaces that I've worked and functioned in, and how even though certain things happen, but when it's all said and done, they respect me and they look out for me from a perspective of, wait a minute, if he's not having a good day, then that means that I'm not going to have a good day. If my cupbearer is not having a good day, he, you know what I mean? He may be off with, he may be vulnerable with checking the food, even though he can replace him, like you pointed out. But in the eyes of the king, that relationship is irreplaceable. He had more of a concern about the well-being of them. Now, I want to make this clear, family. He did not completely free the Israelites, but he gave them enough a leeway to contribute with some of the restoration of the Israelites. They were still in affliction, but he gave them, as Sister Carol mentioned, like when we start looking at the slavery, time of slavery, the house Negro, he's granted certain benefits and certain privileges
to the slaves, to the fields.
Exactly.
So you my good humble savior inside my house, and so you good to me. I trust you. You take care of me. So because you take care of me and I trust you, I'm gonna allow the Negroes outside to have some time off on Sunday, and they can go to church.
And keep in mind, family, we're not saying that Nehemiah was a sellout or nothing like that. We're just using that as a parallel, or should I say, an illustration, so that way you guys can understand his position, his role, and his relationship with the king. He wasn't a sellout. He was all about his people. But again, just showing you that even though we see some great things happening in this this book, but he was still, when it was all said and done, under the authority of the Medo-Persians.
He trusted him. He had built a trust with him.
Like Uncle Tom, right? Uncle Tom was so trustworthy that they knew they could send him anywhere to collect, and he came back.
Correct. And took care of his people at the same time.
Took care of his people at the same time.
Right.
And
That's the truth about Uncle Tom, family. Just want to, put some context there.
He was the Nehemiah.
Yeah.
But right now, Nehemiah is given a blank check before the king, and he's asking for the letters in chapter 7. He said the governors beyond the river. That means he asking the king to all these places I'm gonna go to on my way to Judah.
Right.
I need to have passage, and I might need some stuff from them as they go to help me, like materials to get. So the king installed governors for a certain reason. And in doing this, Nehemiah is going to be one of those governors over Jerusalem.
Correct.
He's going to go from cupbearer to a governor. He got a promotion.
Like Joseph. Same thing happened with him.
But just because he had a heart for his people, and
Mhm.
he didn't do it for the motion, he did it to honor the Most High and to help his people. But because his reputation, what he had, y'all gave him favor in the eyes of the king.
Correct.
Now, what happened when that happened? When he goes back, Nehemiah, and he said, he asked me to please the king, give the letter to the governors beyond the rivers, that they may convey me over till I come into Yehuda, Judah, and the letters to Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest. He may give me timber that I may make beams for the gates of the palace, which apparated to the house and the walls of the city, and for a house that I shall enter, and for a house that I shall enter. He's built himself a house. But I'm pointing all this stuff that came out because, it's not focused on that, but he's getting blessed too. He didn't do it for the blessing, but because he's walking in good favor. When you say, Pastor, he's getting blessed too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the key again, family. It's, your reputation is everything, and I understand that, we're in this land of captivity and there's certain things that we're dealing with, and many don't want to deal with, but you still got to make sure you maintain your good reputation. And even, let's just say some of you guys may believe that the world getting ready to come to an end. One thing I learned in the military, we used to use the term shortitis. Don't get shortitis. Endure all the way to the end. Because when you get short, you start becoming slack in your responsibilities. So I'll just say again, your reputation is so important, but ultimately the reputation of the Most High, because that's who you're representing. Because as soon as you do something that's out of whack, guess what's going to happen? You're right. They're going to bring to your attention your relationship with the Most High. I thought you said you were XYZ.
Exactly. But also your reputation, even when you're being of excellent and you're walking in righteousness and good standing with the Most High, it's also going to bring you some enemies. Because when Nehemiah did this, when he like I said in verse 9, then he came to the governors beyond the river, and the king gave him letters. Now the king sent captains and the army horses with him. When Sanballat the Horite and Tobiah the servant of the Amorites heard of it, it grieved them. They got extremely mad, excessively. And they came a man to seek the welfare of Yasharel. But somebody's come back to help these Yehudis. Somebody gonna help these, I would say these Negroes. Because I didn't want to say it because they were Negroes too. So
that's right.
So they was mad because he said somebody gonna help them. We having fun watching them wallow in their broken down houses in their city with no walls. Now, who is Sanballat? Sanballat was a Samaritan. Samaritan. So you know what Samaritan? If you know it's in the map, I would have I'll go back and forth to my slide. See, I put on my slide. Sanballat was a Samaritan because the enemies will come, and you're gonna have enemies. Even when you're doing what the Most High tell you to do, you're gonna have enemies. In fact, I think you said we talked about it the other day. If people ain't complaining, you ain't doing anything, right, Pastor?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The enemy's not coming after you, you ain't doing anything. Let's see. Get my slide back up there. The enemy that attempt to distract and weaken Nehemiah. I gotta be ahead of myself. I think I lost my slide. I did lose my slide. Sorry. Let me see. But I can rotate it. Give me a second. I don't have thousands to look through like some other people. I only have a couple to look through.
Are you talking Sister Carol?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
And then the last time I count on his channel, this person's channel you're talking about, he's up to now 5.5 million videos.
How many? How
Yeah,
many?
Sister Carol like Boney T.
5.5 million.
Sister Carol's like Boney T from Boney Boomerang. You know she got to exaggerate.
So look where the enemies come from. That's funny. That's funny. 5.5 million. Look where his enemies coming from. Sambat was Samaritan. You know the Samaritans were the inbreds, the mix between the Israelite that stayed behind when the first dispersion happened, and they mixed with some Assyrians, and we got the Samaritan. And the Baha is an Amorite. The Amorite is a descendant of Lot, from one of the daughters that got him drunk. And Gershon, you can hear later on, is one of the other people. He's an Arabian, descendant of Ishmael. These are all people who are actually kin to us.
Right.
So where your trouble coming from, people? Everybody. Sometimes it comes from the people who look like you, might live near you, and might be just kin to you. These are the people who tried to stop Israel from being rebuilt. Kin folks. Any comments?
Oh, no, you're good. You're good.
But in chapter 2, that's who immediately raised his head up when he was coming back to rebuild the wall. But to get back to when Nehemiah got back, he immediately surveyed the territory. He looked at what was going on. In the bottom of the chapter, I think he said, when I came to Jerusalem, is it up on the screen? I'm not...
Yes, it's on the screen.
All right. When I came to Jerusalem, it was 3. It was there 3 days. I rose at night, and a few men who was with me, neither told any man what my Elohim had put in my heart, and that's a good thing. He didn't let everybody know what thus said the Lord to him. He didn't tell anybody. He just went to rise up and go down to Jerusalem. He looked around. Neither he took there any beast with him, save the one he was riding. The beast that he was upon now. He went up to by night by the gate of the valley, even by the dragon well to the dung gate, to view the walls of Jerusalem, which they were broken down, and the gates thereof was consumed with fire. Then he went on to the gate of the fountain of the king's pool, but there was no place that his beast, that it was unto him to pass, meaning that it was so much rubble and debris that the donkey couldn't ride over it, or his beast couldn't ride over it. So he had to get up and walk. That's how torn down the city was. Then he spoke to the rulers. He spoke to the people of Jerusalem. I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but I'm going to summarize it. He let him and told them what Yah had done on his behalf to give him favor with the king and bring materials, and that they would rise up and build the walls of Jerusalem, that they don't have to be in dismay anymore. And he did in such a way that the people of Jerusalem rose up as one man and said, yes, we could do this work. Now, chapter 3, if we go to chapter 3, the people came together and numbered themselves by family. And that's something you think you were bring up, Pastor, about everybody being in there, right, Pastor? As I do my transition.
Repeat that again. You're breaking up on my end.
Chapter 3, the people came in together. Each family had their own assignment.
Exactly.
The leaders came together as family, and each family took their own assignments. Part of the gate to build. And I'm not going to read chapter 3, but if you read chapter 3, you'll see that it name the family and tell you what part of they was responsible for. And then when I saw that, I said, man, everybody pitched in. Everybody had, so I'm going to do this. And me and my family, we're going to walk on this part of it. Or well, we're going to work on this part of it. Look what would happen if we as a people can come together and work together.
Exactly. And Brian Scholar, if you mind, can I share with you a illustration of chapter 3, not going into the details, but just so that way I can show the letters demonstrating what you pointed out.
Go ahead.
All right, let me see here. All right, first let me get to, all right.
Why you get that?
All right, let me share the screen with you. I couldn't share the one that I really want to share because if I show that one, it may stir up some stuff. Not that I'm worried about it, but where is it? I just had it. All right. I got it here. I'm just trying to see what window. Where is it? All right, there it is.
Okay.
All right, let me know if I'm good.
I got it. You're good.
All right, so, and this also ties into chapter 11 as well, but I like to use the letters, to kind of give illustration, family. And as you can see, this is the 5th letter of the Hebrew Aleph Bayat, which is the Ha, right? And the key is Nehemiah the Most High had to reveal his plan to Nehemiah, and Nehemiah was tasked to do the same with the people, right? And of course, you have the ayan here that, of course, that means watch. And you'll see that the numerical value is 70, and it also ties into the 70 elders, right? So you see what the people were tasked to doing, right? And they were tasked to do what? Rebuild the wall, secure the temple, the whole 9. So this is the Bayath right here, right? And you see the Y here, and you see this entry is the Dalath. So at the time, the temple and the walls were compromised because it had no gate or anything or lid to secure the gates as well as the actual place of worship, right? And of course, Dalath, just giving you guys a quick overview real quick. This letter means door, gate, lid, right? Numerical value again is 4. And as you get it, see again, it's the entry, the gate, the door again. All right. I'm not going to go into this. It's just some Hebrew lexicons that's confirming this. So Nehemiah divided the people into different groups to cover certain things, right? But the key is you had those that was laboring, right? While others that was laboring and watching at the same time. You had those that was carrying the materials, while you had those that was actually on that wall, right? And they had tools in their hand that they can actually use as weapons as well. And so this is what you see as the Zion, all right? That was actually a weapon, okay? And of course, they had to, as you see here, the Mayam, right? The water, right? And as you see here, the sunset, the balance, right? This is also a compass, right? So they still had to do what? Put in the work. So anytime a threat came in, they were able to what? Go from one aspect to another, go from building this wall to what? Defending it. All right. And just giving you guys even more clarity here. This letter, this line that you see here is where you get the Hebrew word for hope is YAHAWAH, which in the Israeli, you'll hear the word tikva, right? Which means hope. YAHAWAH comes from the word quara, which means a cord, literally a cord. So you see how the Y is used to secure, which it means secure a tent peg, but to secure the temple, secure the city, put doors up, right? And all of this, they're being watchful. In other words, making sure that they discern what's going on around them. I'm not going to go into the letter Zion, but it means weapon. It looks like a sling blade almost, but I'm not going to go into this source right here. But lastly, you have the Kath, right? And remember, we're dealing with walls, right? That's what it means, wall. So you had what? People at the base of the wall. You had people at the what? Top. You see that they all were on the same page. That's the point that I want to make. And that's going back to what Berean Scholar was pointing out about the people having the mind to build, because everyone understood their roles and responsibilities, and they operated as a fine, smooth oiled machine. So going back to here again, let me see. I'm just trying to go here to see if I can place it back here. Let me go back here. Yeah. Anyway, I'll stop right here. There's more to it, but I'll stop right here.
I love it, and I'm glad you stopped right there, because that showing the time right here, because he gave the king Xerxes 52 days. He said he'd be back in 52 days. So they had a time limit.
Absolutely.
Great.
And, you know, the other point that I want to make too, because a lot of times when we start dealing with gifts, spiritual gifts, and all of this, many think that it started with Apostle Paul. You'll see spiritual gifts all through the law and the prophets, right? So you see each one had to understand their role and responsibility, and that it was important. And think about it, 52 days, they accomplished this all in a short period of time.
Yes.
I yield.
Amen. Thank you, brother. In going to chapter 4, still with the rebuilding, he had to rebuild and also deal with the adversary, because our boys came back in, Sanballat, Tobias, and Gaza, and all the other came back in and tried to delay the work. They sent letters to Nehemiah trying to get him to come off the wall. I'm gonna go ahead and paraphrase, because of time, I don't want to go too long with this, because there's no way I can I don't think I'm gonna get all 13 chapters. But in this day, he dealt with the adversary. When they couldn't get the leader, the next letter they did, they sent an open letter, so it might be open before you get to him, so they get people started talking. They try to get to the people. And that's what happened to us. If they can't get to leaders, they can't get to people in front, they start getting in the chat and putting things in the chat that you don't need to be talking about, need to be seeing. Or they put certain posts from social media that has nothing to do with the price of tea in China, but it's enough to get you distracted from our goals, what we should be doing, building this awakening. You understand? That's what the adversary tried to do. But Nehemiah did a great job of seeing and discerning what they was doing, steering away. They even got to a so-called prophet inside, and I think I had it in an earlier chat, a prophet that was inside of Jerusalem, and had him to try to get Nehemiah to go come hide into the temple, because he said they plotting to come against you at nighttime. Come, let's go into the temple and hide. And that's here he is. And it's chapter 6. This prophet tried to get Nehemiah to come hide in the temple, because he was saying, I heard news, intel told you that those guys gonna try to come in nighttime and kill you. So come in the temple and hide. But Nehemiah knew that he wasn't a priest. He knew that this prophet was not in the right standing. He discerned that this prophet wasn't of Most High. And then look what this was an Israelite who did this. You see his name? Shemaiah, meaning heard by God. Yah. He had a good name, but he was wicked because he allowed somebody to pay him off to try to trick Nehemiah to do something he knew that was against the law, statutes, command. He knew that he was not a priest. He shouldn't be inside the temple. And that would have defamed his character, messed up his reputation, and discredited him from the people. And he said, "No, I'm not doing that." Chapter 7. I wanted to get to chapter 7 because somebody wanted to put out, because that's when they start getting the genealogy and storing the families and leaders of the family come out. I think you mentioned this, right, Pastor?
Yeah, and also one key point to mention too, family, that they had to learn is to keep certain things inside the house, because they were dealing with another situation where, when you start dealing with the land of captivity, being in captivity, you have opportunists, right? Just like in this awakening, right now, there are opportunists out there that's taking advantage of the
Yes,
people,
man.
right? And so they had to actually deal with this. And I believe it was was it chapter 6? No, it's chapter 5, right? Chapter 5, you had many Israelites taking advantage, overtaxing their own people, the whole nine,
Oh, yeah.
building, they were really becoming a capitalistic nation at that time because of, again, people taking advantage of those that are struggling. And we see that today. You see ulterior motives popping up all over the place. Because again, it says here, and there was a great cry of the people and their wives against the brethren of Judah.
Who?
Right? Said the wives was complaining about their husbands.
I don't think I have chapter 5. I'll go bring it up.
And that's in chapter 5, verse 1.
Keep going, because you're right. Because the fact is, they end up putting them back into slavery. The slaves put the slaves into slavery.
You see what I mean? This is why I have so little tolerance with a lot of the foolishness that I see among our community. We're doing the very things that the oppressors have done. And some of us are taking it to those extremes like the oppressors. But the women are complaining, singing, there was a great cry of the people and of their wives against the brethren of Judah, for there were that said, we our sons and our daughters are many, therefore we take up corn for them that we may eat and live. Some also there were that said, we have mortgaged our lands, vineyards, and houses that we might buy corn because of the dearth. So these people were taking advantage of them, saying, "Hey, I'll give you something to eat." They was operating just like similar to what Jacob did with Esau. When Esau came back from hunting and he was tired. Esau said, "Hey, I'll give you some of these lentils, but give me your birthright." In this case, they're saying, "Hey, we'll give you something to eat, but give me that property that you're sitting on."
They were so in debt that they went into slavery, and they were done. And this was done by their own kind.
Exactly. And as it goes on to say, verse 5, yet our flesh is as the flesh of our brethren. In other words, we're the same people, our children as their children. And lo, we bring into bondage our sons and our daughters to be servants, and some of our daughters are brought unto bondage already. Saying we already in bondage, and we going into bondage on top of bondage.
Come on.
Neither is it in our power to redeem them, because guess what? The people that's responsible, right? The parents, they're the redeemers of the home. And they say they don't even have the resources to get their children back, to get them out of this debt because of the way that the system was rigged. Neither is it in our power to redeem them, for other men have our lands and vineyards. Then you see Nehemiah rebuking them.
He spent most of his time rebuking people in his own house. I'm glad you brought this back up, Pastor Fred, because I know I'm trying to get everything in one time, but you can't. That was a good one, because we have the same issue today.
Yeah.
These people, these rich people in Jerusalem, these leaders was causing the people who was doing the work job. They were doing a good job. They were working on the wall. But then they said, wait a minute, we can't work on the wall, but we got to go eat. We got to go take care of our family, because they're still trying to put us in debt. Yeah. That's just like us today. That's a good one. But again, Nehemiah, prophetic vision of this awakening today. That's just trying to land this plane a bit. Get back to it, because it's another breadcrumb I want to get to when you start naming the families. When I was going through the families and looking at the names, and they were giving numbers, this family had this number 300 and so many people. If you read in chapter 7, you see them named family. Oh, I don't know how that happened. I found the name that I had to jump up and down on. And I said, I know you would know the name, but in chapter 7, when it was going, is it on the screen, everybody? You can see my slide?
Yes.
Generation was restored, families were counted. They were reserved the people of Judah, the identity, and preserved the covenant memories. The general structure of Judah was set in place. And just like you said before, everybody was there and counted for. But if you read down throughout from chapter 7, verse 1, when you get down to verse, I think it's 38. Can you read that, Sister Carol?
The children of Sinai, 3,930.
Now, if you read the chapter before, and they're going to call different names out, different family names out, and they can tell you how many, like I said, 300, 500, and some. Then they got to 38, and they said, wait a minute, Sinai? Yeah, I remember somebody mentioned that in one of the videos we used. You remember that, Pastor?
Yep.
Sinai is somebody we knew. And these children, I think I get to it. Elder Kohen Hamadishi, he told the story about Sinai. And I think I was listening to it on your channel when I first heard it, and I heard it was Sinai. Yeah, then I went and looked at it, and Sinai is mentioned in Ezra. You can find it in Ezra chapter 2, and you can find it also in Nehemiah. But let's hear from him himself. Let's Elder talk about it.
Interestingly enough, I want to ask you a controversial question. They have done some blood samples on the Lemba people. Okay, they have done some blood samples.
This is the rabbi, and the person on his left is Elder Kohen Hamadishi.
On the Lemba people, what did the result reveal? This is very, very significant. Who wants to take a stab at that?
I'll do that.
Okay. And this is done by the Israeli researchers, right, from Israel?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I don't want to dominate the conversation here, but I'm only because I took part in that exercise.
So you were part of this exercise.
I was.
Tell us, when did it take place? When?
But first, there's a friend of mine. His name is Tudo Pafit.
How many years ago? I'm saying this took place.
That is in 1985.
1980?
Yeah, 85.
85. Okay.
Yeah. He took some samples.
Pause it real quick,
he took some samples.
So what?
Pause it real quick. And the reason why I'm asking you to pause is, and I got to say this, family, because did you pause it? I want to make sure you don't lose your police. All right. Please don't get caught up in this J haplogroup garbage. Because what many try to hold on to and try to discredit the Lemba is these guys try to say that the Lemba has J haplogroup. You already know we are E1B1A, right? Starting with E, right? They are E. But what they were doing was constantly changing and trying to manipulate the DNA to minimize their numbers. Remember, and I shared the video, Sister Carol. I don't know if you remember when we actually did the live on Sister E's channel.
Mm-hmm.
When he literally stated how they tested them 4 times and they kept trying to change the test.
Right.
Don't get caught up in this J stuff, because J, that haplotype, was created and so-called approved almost 15 years after the E was identified and made into a category for Northeast Africa. And so it was what I believe it was 1982 or 83 is when the E haplogroup for the what's that Galilee, the caves, our ancestors that was discovered in the caves of Galilee and Nazareth, right? That's where E was developed for Northeast Africa. They created that J haplogroup to purposely minimize who we are in that region and start pushing us out of there and start pushing this J market nonsense. Anyway, I just thought I'd just kind of talk on that, because you always have every time you mention the Limba, you always have our brothers and somebody, a troll. I'm not going to say our brothers and sisters, but trolls that want to jump on the windshield trying to wipe your windshield off with dirty water.
So you're saying you got a Sanballat, Tobias out there calling names and trying to get us off the wall while we're building the kingdom right now?
Exactly. So again, family, there's so many layers to this DNA that they did so much deception on their end to try to murky the water to push us further out. So now when you hear some brothers and sisters will actually say, well, the Limba is J, they're not part of us.
Wow.
So if they're J, then why am I coming up with E and it's connecting me to the Limbas?
Somebody lying.
Right? I mean, 20, not 23andMe. What is that? My what is that? What I use? Jed Match. Remember, it connects me to the Limba. Also, this what is that? My True Ancestry or whatever.
Yeah, I got that on My True Ancestry.
Connects me to Limba, saying that I'm 5 generations removed from the Limba. So, family, that's why I don't get caught up in a lot of these discussions, because it's so easy to debunk and call out. So I just wanted to just point that out, Berean Scholar, because I know it's going to be someone jumping on your windshield with dirty water.
Well, we just step on the gas. So, well, let's go back to Elder Hamadishi. In fact, I went past the DNA part because he shares that his DNA is 70%. 7%.
Yeah, and to that point, real quick, what they did was when they initially tested him, and he says this in the discussion we had, he said when they initially tested them, someone, in other words, the 1948ers, their DNA was 1.25. In other words, that was the best that they could do. Right. 1.25% that was testing them in initial tests for the Limba came back 24%. Not 1.25%, but 24%. Then they tested them again. It went up to 48%. Then they tested them again. It went up to like 70 to 75%. And then that last test, they didn't return with it.
And they compared his test with she was pointing to a young man who was there who was an Ethiopian person in Israel. And he said his DNA was 26%. So Limba was higher than the Ethiopian. They say Ethiopian Jew. Yeah.
That's why they want to do whatever they can in these different spaces to contaminate the discussion.
Yeah. You ready?
Yep.
All right.
Why do you say so? Said, no, look, you see there's some blacks there. from Ethiopia who do the cleaning the hotels and all that. He says that boy you're seeing there, his percentage is about 26%. But on you, it's 70%. 70%.
One last thing,
That's
Berensky.
significant.
But we
I
cannot.
hate to stop you. 24% is still higher than the highest percentage in the 1948ers. Remember, they are what? On the average, 98% European.
Exactly. And that 24 was an Ethiopian Jew.
Exactly. I just want to point that out real quick.
Who is melanated.
So that means that, guess what? Our percentage is higher than any of those guys. The lowest percentage in our community is still higher than the highest percentage among the 1948ers.
And and then he's gonna tell us some other markers that take you right back to Nehemiah.
Release this information because look, there's no land, and you are at war, and it is a desert.
So are you telling me what I think you're telling me? You're saying they know that there is a high percent of Jewishness, and the Israeli government would not allow to release this results to the public?
They know.
That's inconceivable.
They know.
I've been connected. You wanted to say a
I wanted to say,
yeah, please.
Sorry, I have to go back a little bit. I wanted to add up to what Pastor Tatra said about our footprints in Israel. How do we know that we came from Israel? Now, if you got the book of Nehemiah, I can't remember the chapter, verse 35, it talks about a man called Senna.
Senna.
So I'm happy to tell you that if you had to go back to home to Israel, we left some marks on the way. When our parents went to Yemen, they built a city and named it Senna. It's there right today. There's it's called Senna. Now, if you go from Senna, they went to Mozambique. If you go to Mozambique, there's a city called Senna in Mozambique.
Interesting.
If you come here to Zimbabwe, the Great Zimbabwe, it was supposed to be called Senna 4, but only that we are a minority, and our voice was not audible enough to be heard. Then the other group which crossed the Limpopo River, South Africa, they built a city and called it Senna. Even today it's called Messina. It's on the way to South Africa. Now, if you go to Israel, there's a place near the Dead Sea.
Yeah.
There's a place it's a city which used to be occupied by the Levites.
Okay.
Now they were surrounded by the Moabites.
Okay.
That's where you get a place called Senna also. And on the old map of Israel, there is a place called Lemba. I have the map on me here.
Interesting.
There's a place called Lemba. It's there. Lemba. I have a map there. So it's very easy to go back home because already we left some marks and we already known that we were there. But only that, because of the...
And I hope you get this map is big enough. This is a place that he's met that you can see Senna. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Senna. Just like we saw in chapter 7, verse 38. And he said they traced their migration from Israel all the way down to Yemen, all across to Mozambique, all the way down to Zimbabwe, where they are currently today. South is central South Africa, where you see the Limba. But left their marks, naming place called Senna, just like we just got to read in chapter 7. Read chapter 7, and when you see that, and I'm glad that Pastor Richard has said that, because I did my DNA also with JetMac and with my heritage, and it came up with a large percentage of Limba. So when I said that Senna, then my people was accounted for when they took row in Nehemiah.
And I also want to add to this that the whole time they were migrating within the continent of Africa. So it wasn't like they came from somewhere else. This whole time they were in the whole entire continent of Africa,
Right.
just moving from one region down to another region, which lets you know this whole book is in the continent of Africa.
And to your point too, Sister Carol, because one thing he also points out, their connection to the Yemenites.
Right.
Right? But not
Correct.
the Yemenites that you see today.
Not today. Right. Exactly.
Because remember the image that I shared with the Yemenites being enslaved to the by way of the Arabs.
Correct.
They look like the Limba, don't they? They look like us.
Yes.
They dark melanated like us.
Right. And when I did my DNA, I did it with African ancestry, and it located me to Gabon. The people who I'm connected to was Fang. The Fang people migrated from the same area, Northeast Africa, and they moved all the way down to Gabon.
And most of the people that we were mentioning, those people was dispersed. If I go back to the dispersion map, you see when people left Babylon, a lot of them went back to Jerusalem, but not all. Some dispersed to northern Africa. Some dispersed to Europe. Some dispersed to Rome. Some went other places and around Africa. We dispersed.
Correct.
We were scattered.
Right.
Now, quickly to close this out, and I hope, and like I said, I hope each and every one of you do go back and read this, because there's so much more that we're not getting a chance to hit all of it. But it'll show you, if you read it, you'll see, man, we're doing the same thing. We're going through the same thing. Chapter 8. Before Nehemiah came back, Ezra was already there. Ezra, when they got most of the work done, it says in chapter 8, all the people gathered themselves together as one man. Is it on the screen?
Yes.
As one man.
Mm-hmm.
All the people. Now we got thousands of people here, but they gathered themselves as one man in the streets before the water gates, and they sparked, and it sparked unto Ezra, to the scribe, to bring the book of the law of Moses, which YAHAWAH had commanded to Israel. Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both of the men and women, and all that could hear with understanding, unto the first day and to the seventh, and unto the 7th month. From the first day of the 7th month. I'm sorry about that. Then he started reading. He read within, before the streets, that he was before the water gates from the morning until the midday. He read from the morning until the midday. Pastor, anybody ever talk to you about having a long sermon?
What's that?
Has anybody complained to you about having a long sermon?
No, not complain, but I know I could get lengthy.
But he read from the morning to the midday.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Well,
and can I say one thing too? And about the two books, Ezra and Nehemiah, right? They're considered one book, right?
Right.
But of course, they touching on different certain points and certain periods. So again, as you pointed out, and that's one of the things that when I teach the feast days, I think I taught this with the tabernacles, the importance of praying and coming together as one man. But they had to clean up their house. They had to establish order, like going back to what you pointed out earlier, the whole goal of this discussion, the blueprints for getting back to what the Most High wants us to do.
And it, not just him as the leaders getting back, but all of us.
Exactly.
They came as one man.
Exactly.
They established themselves with their families. They know who they are. They knew the leaders. They got the priest Ezra to come up. He had all the elders beside him. They named names of 6 on his right hand, 7 on his left hand, and he read the book of the law from morning I borrowed this chart from somebody, so from morning, I just want to see 6 a.m. all the way to midday. They just read the book of the law. And if you read the book, I'm not going to read it for you because I'm not reading for you because you can read it yourself. People started crying because they haven't heard the word of the Most High in years. They were crying and repenting. And he said, and he gets better because he said, this is not a day of sorrow. Rejoice and glorify the Most High.
And that connects to the one Psalms 119 when it says the law of YAHAWAH is right for converting souls. In other words, saving souls, turning them back to the Most High.
And that's what happened to me when I was convicted. When I realized that this book was about us, about me, make it more personal, I went through that same emotional turmoil where I stayed in my house for a whole weekend, did not go anywhere and talk to anybody. And I just read and I cried and I was angry and I repented because I did not understand how did I get caught up in the things that we were doing. We were living sinfully and had to repent all of that.
Yes.
It convicts you.
And teaching others to do the same.
Right. And when you start reading it, it just starts jumping at you like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. We're supposed to be doing this, supposed to be doing that. Supposed to be doing any of this. And it just, it humbles you. It makes you cry. It makes you just want to just immerse yourself in his word. You don't even want to eat, you don't want to talk to anybody. You just want to say, Father, forgive me for what I did not know, but I know now. How did I get back to you?
And and what you're saying, Sister Carol, is exactly what I think Pastor Richards and I was having a conversation offline about some other teachings that's going out there and people saying things. We as a people have to bury ourselves like you did those days in the book of the laws, the statutes and commandments, and the prophets, starting in the first book. But we need to know them.
Hey.
We need to know, because we know them, then people can't give us false doctrine.
Okay. Did you read the emails?
If we know them, people can give you false doctrine. People can come with you with these things saying that this is what you can do, this is what you need to do. Any comments, Pastor?
No, you're hitting it on the nail, man. You're hitting it on the nail. And this is, I'd say I love this, man. This is like some of my favorite parts of the book of Nehemiah, because as you see here, the people got convicted by just reading, the priest reading out of the book of the law, right? And guess what? They was on a raised platform.
Yeah. They built.
What is a raised platform, families? For those that try to make everything being Christianity or Catholicism or the church. They was in the pulpit, right? Verse 4, Ezra the scribe stood upon a pulpit of wood. In other words, a raised platform.
And he goes, which had been made for this purpose, for the purpose of proclaiming the word.
Exactly.
And that's why I summarized it, but he mentioned the men who stood on his right hand and the men who stood on his left hand. These are witnesses. These are elders, stood with him because they knew the word.
Yeah, does that sound like an altar call?
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. And they also, you see, as he read, and I remember he read it, I showed you that time to show you that it was from 6 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. in the afternoon. Just think about that, in our time. As he read it, there was people who were going around and make sure that everybody understood the law. Because remember, they've been in captivity. They didn't understand the language. They didn't understand they didn't heard all the principles. But they loved it because they knew they were finding their heritage again. Okay. I went back down to 14, Pastor. You mean in 14? They noticed that about some of the feast days, and they about the festival of booth on the 7th month. They saw that in them. They said, immediately started, let's go do this. Let's go do this now. And then he said they should punish and proclaim that in all the city of Jerusalem, saying, "Go forth unto the mount."
Sister Carol, we hear you in the
I was concerned
background.
about what was going on with her.
Oh,
you may want to mute out Sister Carol. She can sound like
okay.
she's done with school.
Oh yeah. Oh, she did. I'll try to get through it. Where was I?
And we have to lay hands on Sister Carol. No, I'm just praying, joking. But when you look here, and this is what's so impactful, this is why it reminds me of so much of where we are. Moment the people saw, after being read from the law, and they saw the Feast of Booths, right? The Tabernacles, Feast of Tabernacles, right? And look at the time of the month. What does it say there? It says, I believe I saw the second day. Yeah, and on the second day, we're gathered together, the chief of the fathers and all the people, the priests, the Levites, unto Ezra the scribe, even to understand the words of the law. So this tells you that they could quite possibly be reading out of Leviticus.
Right.
So they're reading out the law. It said, and they found written in the law, which YAHAWAH had commanded by Moses, that the children of Israel should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month. And as you pointed out, they're like, hey, let's do this. Let's take care of this. Why is this important, family? They honored the feast days out of sync. Because the very first day is supposed to be the blowing of the trumpets.
Come on.
Followed by what? The 10th day, the Day of Atonement. Then the Tabernacles. See, the Most High understands our position, family. He understands when we initially come into this awakening, we're still trying to figure certain things out. And as we figure these things out, he can see that our heart is in the right place.
Thank you.
So that's where the mercy comes into play. So as you begin to progress, guess what? As they progress, they got in sync. As we progress, we shouldn't just stay there saying, hey, at least we honor the feast days. No, after you constantly studying and going deeper in his word as leaders, now we're able to say, this is the day that we are supposed to honor it. It's just like saying the name Jesus. I'm not knocking anyone that says Jesus, but at the same time, your growth should be beyond the name, the transliterated name Jesus, that you know is not an ancient construct.
And Nehemiah,
your growth should be beyond God. And you should be able to say YAHAWAH. Or even you say Yah, you should have grown to the point of at least saying Yah.
And Nehemiah had to deal with that in chapter 13.
Exactly. So scroll down just a little bit more. Look at this, family. I get excited, man, when you know how we do, man. Look at what it says. Also, day by day, from the first day unto the last, he read from the book of the law of Allahayim, and they kept the feast 7 days. And on the 8th day was a solemn assembly according unto the manner. So here it is. They honored the full tabernacles early. But look at the beginning of verse 9. Look what happened on the 24th day of the month. Wait a minute. So you telling me they're doing the Day of Atonement that should be on the 10th, on the 24th day of the month? Because now in the 24th day of this month, the children of Israel were assembled with fasting and with sackcloth and the earth upon them. What does that sound like sound like to you, my brother?
Yeah, they were doing the atonement.
Mm-hmm. So they were doing everything out of sync, but their hearts were in the right place. So this is where I came up with the term situational exception. The Most High is not some maniacal robot, assembly line robot. He understood where Israel is at this point. They excited about restoring the temple. Now they're like, hey, we ready to, man, you read, he's reading from the book of the law, and they hear him reading about the feast days, the tabernacle. And they're like, hey, we got to do that.
and I'm glad you said that, Pastor. I'm gonna go back because this would happen when you right. They're so excited. They're so excited when he started reading. And go back to where was it? Where was it? They said they were They actually blessed the blessed Yahweh and the great I am, and all the people answered, "Amen, Amen." This was just like they were at the Mount Sinai, and they all lifted their hands up and they bowed their heads and worshiped Yahweh, and their face was to the ground. Just he didn't preach something; he just read the book of the law. And they started screaming, "Amen, Amen," lifting their hands up and bowing. That's why you said their hearts are right, because they saw that he mentioned, "Oh, Booth, let's do this."
Right.
Atonement, let's do this.
Let's do it right now.
That's the point right there. Just like the eunuch. What's stopping me from being baptized right now? Why are we waiting?
Right now. Let's repent right now. That's basically what they said.
And I'm going to say this: if you have somebody teaching you that that this is the law of Moses, don't listen to them.
Exactly.
Thank you. Oh my goodness.
This is the law of the Most High, Yahweh. They gave glory to Yahweh. Yahweh Shai said that when he was tempted in the wilderness, the man should not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeded out the mouth of Yah.
So a man live.
The mouth of Yah, not from Moses, Yah. Yah spoke the word to Moses. Yah wrote it down first. He had to break it. He went back and he spoke it to Moses again. He had to subscribe it. It was Yah.
Moses was just an instructor.
Exactly. And the whole Leviticus, it was given by Yah. And these people have been so away from it for so many years. They come back and Ezra reads it, and they just started crumbling before the Most High. You talking about worship service? I just said, wow. And we're gonna, because there's so much in this, guys. I mean, I wanted to make sure I got this part. But if you want to go more, when it got to verse, I think even chapter 13, they had to deal with some. Or chapter 10, they had to separate themselves. They separate from the strangers that were among them to repent. They said, "Well, okay, brother, I know y'all with us and y'all want to be a part of us, but it's us to take on the sins of our father. We need to repent and get ourselves straight." But then Nehemiah had to deal with some people who were there who had mingled themselves with some of the people who lived around them in chapter 13. And they were so entangled with the ways of the people around them that they didn't know the language. Their kids wasn't circumcised. They wasn't doing everything, and he had to deal with them. In fact, in one side, how funny you said that. He said he had to chase some of them and snatch hair out of some of their heads. He had to get physical with them because he wanted to get Judah back to the right place. But if this not a blueprint of this awakening, then I don't know what is. Comments?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Pastor?
Well, like Sister Kara said, you hit it right on the nail, and even to the point too. That I know we made mention of it earlier, but maybe you can highlight it. I believe it's about the remnant. I believe it's in chapter 10, either 10 or 11, when it gives the list of all, the names and who's occupying what. But then you'll see the section about the remnant that is being, that's occupying Jerusalem. What is that verse? Let me pull it up here.
I'll pull it up.
I think it's, let's see here. Is it 10, chapter 10? Let's go down. All right, let's see.
Is it chapter 10?
Let me see here.
It's not in 10. I see remnant.
It's either it may be in 11, but let me see here.
Because this one he's setting up judges and all this stuff.
And getting together to worship the commandments and the feast days. Let's see, and the people of the land bringing the victim. Okay.
10 starts off with him, the rules.
Let me look at 11.
Rules, right.
The rulers of the people dwell in Jerusalem and raise up the people who cast off lots to bring one of the 10 dwells in Jerusalem. The holy city of 9 parts. In the city, the people bless all the men and willing offering themselves to dwell to Jerusalem. Now there are the chief of the province that dwell in Jerusalem, but the city of Judah dwell even one of the possessing in the city. Joshua, the priest, Levite. He started naming some of the people there and their kids, the Solomon and their servants.
They talks about the remnant in chapter 1.
No, but it's in chapter. It's in the chapters. I got to look at it here real quick. It's there. I'm reading through it real quick.
Okay, I'm doing it with you.
Let me see.
This is true Bible study right here.
But this whole book is a blueprint. If you want, people are into this awakening and you want to know what to do and you want to know how we should react, read Nehemiah.
Let's see. Where is it at?
Read Nehemiah.
Because I actually taught the details of this here. Let me see here. Let me look at it real quick again.
Well,
if not,
we'll very first of chapter 13, the day of the Moses the people in that writing that the Amorites and the Moabites should not be becoming the congregation. He's dealing with some Amorites and Moabite that was there. Is that what you talk about?
Let me see here.
That's 13:1.
No, it's not that.
And 3 about separating the mixed multitudes.
Is it chapter 11? Let me go down to chapter 11. I believe it's chapter 11. The residue. I believe that's it.
What verse?
Is it the residue? Wait a minute. Let me leave. And all the residue of Israel, of the priests and the Levites were, and all the cities of Judah. So I believe it's let me see here. I think it's 20.
20. Yeah, the residue right here. And the residue of you,
it's the residue. That's the verse right there.
Oh, that's what he said. The residue of
Israel and the priests,
the
Levites.
Levites.
Yeah, the residue of Yashara'al.
Yeah, they start naming some of the tribes then.
No, but that's not. No. That's still separate. It's actually the residue of Yashara'al.
And the priest.
Then it goes of the priests, of the Levites, and all the cities of Judah. But the residue there is referring to all 12 tribes.
Right, because it says in his
Yashara'al.
Mm-hmm.
Because the northern kingdom was also referred to as Israel or Yashara'al.
Because he said everyone in his inheritance, which means everyone.
Yeah.
And that's another thing when people say, when the southern kingdom was the last to be dispersed, you're right. you know, most people focus on Judah, and a lot of people were Judah, but there was a remnant of everybody there.
Yeah, and that's the point that I want to make, because when many teach about the Northern Kingdom, and a lot of it comes from the 1948ers, they'll say that the Northern Kingdom, especially when they start dealing with the Samaritans, saying that, well, hey, you know, the Northern Kingdom got completely absorbed, and they began to mix and mingle all of them with the Assyrians. That's not true. There was still a remnant that remained in Jerusalem. So that's why when you see the residue of Yashara'al, Israel, that's the Northern Kingdom.
We found it. That's how you dig in the word. But I'm gonna. Anything you want to add to that before we close out?
Oh, I'm good. I know we did an extensive study here, but
And I didn't get to my. I wanted to get to 13 because 13 he had to beat up some people.
Yeah,
he had to beat up some people. He called some people out. People who were married to people who they shouldn't be married to. He even went back. Didn't you learn from Solomon? Solomon was brought into sin by wicked wives. This is a teaser for you guys to go back and read it yourself.
Yeah. He started with the leadership.
Yep.
Started with the priests.
But
he was going in.
This is a beautiful, beautiful picture of this awakening. If you read it and actually and read it and pray, that's the Most High to show you. You'll see things that we need to learn from, and stay away from it, and be as gung ho as the people that came this together as one man. One man. That got me when he said that. When I read it, I had to stop and say, they all 1,000 came as one man. Where's in the Bible you heard that?
You're also seeing in Chronicles as well. It's a few places.
But this is a positive us coming one man. But the other, it mentioned in the Tower of Babel, they're all in one accord.
No, well, what I mean by in Chronicles, it also mentions one man, how Israel bowed down as one man when they was dedicating the temple. You know, they all, you know, but to your point, they was in unity.
Exactly.
Now with Ezra, it mentions it several times about them coming together as one man, and even had elders crying, seeing the fulfillment of, you know, the temple being restored. And you know, it's very powerful.
This book started out with one man crying in the palace of Shushan as he was serving the king, to the whole body of Israel crying because they got reunited to the book of the law. But it started off with one man. It started off with one man. That was a challenge to me. It's something I had to take and internalize myself. But it's something that we all should, as we walk in this awakening, as this truth, as we say. I mean, are we so caught up in our own things that we don't think about brother and think about what's going on around us? And I played that clip before about how we're under attack. Yeah, we're under attack, but if we can get ourselves right, every time that the enemy came against Israel while they was building a wall, and the people started looking at the work ahead of them and looking at him, he said, "Don't be afraid. Y'all will fight our battles. When the trumpet blows, anybody attack, come with us. Y'all gonna fight our battles." With that, I yield. Any last comments, Sister Carol?
Oh, it's just so much. What, like I was saying earlier, the conviction of when you do wake up and you start understanding what you've been in and now how to come out of it. and getting back to the covenant and being forgiven for what you did not know and now you do know. This is a good place to start by reading this particular book, as you stated. And just look at the things that's happening, and you can parallel them directly what's happening right now, presently.
Yes.
Even among the awakening.
Especially
Because all we did was transferred out of the Christian denominations that we were in, be it Baptist, Methodist, whatever the denomination you chose. And now we're creating in this awakening our own little denomination of Hebrew Israelite, of doctrine I want to teach. And then fight among the other churches, or if you will, back in the day, churches, and saying, oh, we don't deal with the Baptists because they do this, and we don't deal with the Methodists because they do this. So the same thing with the awakening. Oh, we don't deal with the camps because they do that, and we don't deal with them, that More over there because he does this, and that type of situation. Same thing happening here. Trying to bring them back together, trying to get them on one footing, one accord.
One man.
One man, one sound, one band, one sound.
With one band.
That's
no,
right.
I mean, but it's that's one of the things you hear reiterated on a regular basis in other spaces, even in the military. You know, one man. I mean, you hear that concept.
Exactly.
And
That's where it came from.
And like I said, so when you read the scriptures, it's so important. I mean, we are supposed to do everything in unison.
Exactly.
When Israel walked around the walls of Jericho, they was doing that as one man.
Correct. And remember now in Deuteronomy, when we do responsive reading.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
We're supposed to be in unison, you know, and going back to Ezra, and like I said, when like I said, I did a class on that a couple of years ago during Tabernacles, showing the importance of one man. Regardless of all their circumstances, they still had to come together as one man. But the key is they had to agree to at least start with the basics. What was the basics that they had to do? Repent.
Yes.
They had to understand repenting. They had to not Nehemiah, but Ezra went into repentance, but he began to do sacrifices during the evening sacrifices.
Yes.
And that's when you start getting into, you know, like we talked about before, the different watches, the different times of the day. And family, that's the key. We have to understand this. This is not something that is that just was created by Apostle Paul, because many have referred to Apostle Paul with the Corinthians, as far as when he was dealing with the gifts and all of that. Now, this is all beyond Apostle Paul. This is all in the law and the prophets.
I'm going to say something to this chat right here to Eric. So I've been alone in this for about 6 years in my area. And brother, you might be alone physically in your area. You might not know anybody who is serving the way. You're not alone, because it's people around us. But a lot of times, I know when I first got involved, when I was reaching out to everybody, I was alone. It was just me and my wife, my family. But he had to get me alone. He had to get me alone to peel off all those layers of who I was.
Correct.
He had to deal with me, and it allowed me to see this. So I'm speaking for me. I'm not speaking to you. I'm not saying that's for you. It's going on with you, but our prayers are with you. If you keep doing like Nehemiah did, follow that blueprint, y'all, when it's time to connect, you will connect. Y'all will connect you. So hang in there, brother. See, got a lot of good report. A lot of people, a lot of good things. At least we don't have some sandbatters still hanging around here. But saying all that, guys, Pastor, you want to any last words? Since
you know me, fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of YAHAWAH. These Egyptians that you see here today will not have power over us again. The Most High will fight for us, but the key, we have to hold our peace. Can't go back, can't stay here. Keep moving forward, and that is coming from Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14. Shalom.
You know, somebody taught that yesterday, and they brought it out in the sermon. It's funny how it's easier to hear things when you're not actually teaching. You listen to somebody else teaching, you can hear things that you might not hear before. But when the person brought it out in doing his sermon, he said that Moses was also trained in Egypt. That he was a military strategy training. He was a general. So when Yah gave him the instruction to go towards the sea, he told him to go forward, and he obeyed, not seeing a way. And the people didn't see a way, so they started talking. So that's why he's telling me you got to be quiet sometimes. Just follow instruction. You got to be quiet and follow. So I saw that in a different way when that person shared that yesterday. I don't know. You know who I'm talking about, Sister Carol?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, man. I have to throw some holy water after him.
Folks, thank you for being here. I hope this was you if you didn't like what you hear, please say something to give me a comment or whatever. Please give a like, hit the hype button. Thankfully, I've seen some people who do the hype button. Thank you for the hype button because it gets that message out to a lot more people. Make a comment. Most of all, keep pressing, keep reading, and develop yourself in the book and see what we said today is true. Read it for yourself. Have a great week. Shalom.
Shalom.
What do you think about this topic? Remember to be a Berean scholar, as it is written in the book of Acts 17 verses 11 to 12. Now the Bereans were more noble-minded than the Thessalonians, for they received the message with great eagerness and examined the scriptures every day to see if these teachings were true. It's time to deepen your understanding and see your reflection within the sacred pages. Please click subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay up to date with the Berean Scholar channel.